Hello Internet, it is me, the Gamer Musician, and it's finally time for a video talking about video game music. Well, more specifically, the people who make it. Now, I'm not going to be talking about what makes video game music unique, because I'm saving that for another video, but hey, I think you'll all find this pretty interesting. So, this video is mostly going to be just explaining the processes behind what those in the game audio field actually do. So, who they work with, what they work with, and the actual steps behind it. Now, contrary to a lot of people's popular beliefs, those who work in the game audio field don't actually just sit around and write music all day. There's actually a lot involved in the production of game audio. Those gamer musicians will often be required to work in a lot of the various sections of game design. Now, I'm not saying they need to do all the coding and character rigging, but they will often have to work with a lot of the other departments in the project. In most of the smaller indie productions, as well as some of the bigger ones too, the audio producer, and that's a fancy way of saying sound guy, will often be required to not just work in the fields of actual music, but also in dubbing and Foley. But what are they? Well, you probably know both of these pretty well by now, especially if you've ever played a game, or watched any movies, or watched any TV shows. Yeah, they're both pretty common in all media. So, dubbing. Yeah, it kinda speaks for itself. The characters in a game are obviously not programmed to speak on their own, and they will often need to find voice actors to voice their characters. You know, like Haley Joel Osment as Sora in Kingdom Hearts, Jack Black as Eddie Riggs in Brutal Legend, and of course, Charles Martinet as, well, pretty much the majority of the Mario characters. Pretty much, the dubbing phase involves giving the characters actual voices, and syncing those spoken words to the characters' lips. But of course, even the games without voice acting are still often littered with voice dubbing, such as Link's famous Someone did have to actually record that. As for Foley, it's a pretty similar experience, except this is mostly about sound effects. Anything from the crashing of thunder to the crackling of a lit torch to, as expected, the different footsteps of the characters. Of course, these are not always recorded freshly for each project, as a lot of games take clips from big sound databases and often prefer to take and edit sound effects from these databases, as it often saves a lot of the costs involved with recordings. The sound crew is generally the people involved with taking these sounds, getting them recorded if necessary, and conforming them to fit into their required locations within the game. However, there is, of course, one more part that is essential for pretty much every game. Music. Yeah, music is something that has been an essential part of gaming ever since back in the arcades. Now, I'm not going to be going super in-depth with what needs to be done to make video game music that works, since as I said before, I'll be making a follow-up video to this. I'll probably be putting a card up here in the corner whenever I finish it. So cool, we can say quest complete to the actual work they do. But what about the rest of their jobs? Well, don't worry everyone, this video is going to be comprehensive and stuff. So, who do they work with? Well, it's not really a difficult question. The audio people work with a large majority of the crew. For example, the audio people will often have to work with the directors of the project. This makes a lot of sense. The director of pretty much any project, whether it be film or game, often has the final go-ahead in what actually happens in the project. Koji Kondo, lead musical director for many of the older Mario and Zelda games, remembers that he and Miyamoto would often be working together late into the night, listening to the various different tunes he had written in an attempt to decide on a song which would fit the style of Super Mario Bros. 3. Obviously, as I mentioned before, the sound director will also need to work with the character riggers and voice actors in the creation of dubbing, as well as the scriptwriters. Dubbing is often one of the latest steps in the creation of a game. After all, the script needs to be made and the scenes animated and the characters rigging before the voice actors can even try and attempt to speak, matching the audio with the mouth. And of course, there's a load of fantastical musical talent involved in game music. I mean, I don't really need to do this in this video, but I love you viewers, so I figured I'd give you people a couple of the biggest names in game music. There's a lot of interviews with these people online, so hey, maybe you might want to go give them a read sometime. They're really fascinating. I mentioned Koji Kondo before, and he is the musical talent behind the Mario games, the Zelda games, and a number of others. While Ocarina of Time was the last game where Koji Kondo worked as the sole composer, he still works at Nintendo, mostly directing and managing the sound team. As for some non-Nintendo companies, well, I have another two big Japanese composers. First off, Nobuo Uematsu. Many of you will probably have heard at least a few of his tracks, since he wrote most of the music in Chrono Trigger, Oceanhorn, and most notably, Final Fantasy. Yeah, Uematsu has written a lot of big name game music. As for the second musician I mentioned, I'm bringing up Yoko Shimomura. Shimomura is one of the most versatile musicians in the industry, having written all kinds of different music, from the intense fight themes from Final Fight or Street Fighter II The World Warrior, to the calming forest maze theme from Super Mario RPG, or even the entire soundtrack to Final Fantasy XV that just came out. She's also written a lot of the music to a lot of other games I love, including many which are in my top 10 games, such as Live A Live, Radiant Historia, the Mario and Luigi games. However, of course, her most known work is that of Kingdom Hearts. As for someone outside of Japan, I'm going to finish off this video with another musician I respect a lot. Grant Kirkhope. Anyone who was gaming during the N64 era will definitely have heard of some of his music, considering that around this time, he worked for Rare. During the N64's lifetime, Kirkhope wrote the soundtracks for GoldenEye 007, Perfect Dark, the Banjo-Kazooie series, and of course, Donkey Kong 64. Yes, including the DK rap. Now let's take it to the fridge. Currently, he's writing a lot of the music in Yooka-Laylee, set to release next year. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped for that game. Anyway though, that's all I really have for you people this time, so I hope that you'll leave a comment telling me if you learned anything, and maybe give the video a like or a share. And as always people, don't forget to subscribe and bell to me for some more video game music themed videos from The Gamer Musician.